Lock your door because I promise this tale will shake your soul. There was a runs girl named Mary. She never dates or friends men for love. Her agenda for any romantic male interest was always because of money. She would always position herself at rich parties close to any man with money, no matter the man's age, status, size, or color. Mary was a woman with big dreams, and all her dreams were financed by men, especially because of her beauty. Mary had her plan going like the wind. Every bill had a particular rich man paying for it. Mary had a timetable she labeled with men's names that were all her love interests. The timetable helped her remember the particular rich man she had to call or sweet talk each day. Her mother, Mama Mary, was also an enabler of Mary's greedy lifestyle. Mama Mary would always encourage her daughter to go for even bigger fishes, meaning richer men. Mama enjoys the luxurious lifestyle her daughter gives her as a result of her booming runs business, and so she was very supportive of her. In Mama Mary's words, "Life is sweet, especially when you take money from fools." For years, Mary enjoyed her handiwork, with different men sponsoring her luxurious lifestyle. She drove the latest cars and had a beautiful mansion to her name, all thanks to her rich sugar daddies. But this was never enough for Mary. Every day of the week she kept aiming for richer men than the ones she currently had. Every time she gets a new, richer man paying her bills, Mary would celebrate with her mother. They will marry and party. Not once had she had genuine romantic feelings towards any of her male admirers. It was strictly business for her. Mary kept this immoral act up, and her bank account shot up through the sky, with at least 10 credit alerts waking her up each day. Life was good. Mary was fresh and loving it until one day. Like she usually does, Mary discovered a new shopping mall where a lot of rich people shopped. This supermarket sold only expensive items and was named Luxury or Nothing. Mary grinned from ear to ear. She was glad that she got a new spot to find the richest customers in town. After the mall was opened, Mary decided to give it a week before she went there to shop. Mary went into the shopping mall one sunny Friday. She made sure she was wearing her best. She walked all over the supermarket and kept seeing people, some with their children, some alone, and so on. But Mary was looking for a particular vibe and appearance. Mary had one talent: she could smell someone with money from afar. All she had to do was look at a person's dressing, their wristwatch, shoes, and bags, and immediately Mary would determine their net worth and how wealthy they are. She had perfected this skill so much, and she always won. So while walking around the mall, pretending to be shopping, Mary had her detective spirit on, checking out all the men and what they were putting on, calculating how rich they are and the best way to approach them. By the time she was done surveying, she got her top pick. Mary moved close to a very handsome, 30-years-old man. He had gorgeous eyes and a very friendly face. Everything about this man screamed rich. Mary dropped one of her hand beads on the floor in order to get the strange rich man's attention, and it worked. The handsome man was so caring, he kept saying sorry as he helped Mary pick the dismantled beads all over the floor. After they were done picking the beads, Mary thanked the man and asked for his name. He told Mary his name is Ori. Mary was amazed by his name because in Yoruba land the name Ori means head. She asked why his parents named him Ori, and Ori said to her, "It is because I have no head." Mary and Ori burst into laughter. If only Mary knew. Mary thought he was so funny, and that was a plus to her. They exchanged contacts, and every day they chatted on WhatsApp. By the time the week was done, Mary got Ori to invite her to his house. On a beautiful Saturday morning, Mary arrived at Ori's house. She was shocked to see that Ori lived in a super luxurious island in Nigeria. The place was called Banana Island. Only the richest men and women could afford such a place in Lagos State, Nigeria. Mary was super elated because her net caught the biggest fish ever. She drove towards Ori's house with so much happiness. Mary's jaw dropped when she saw Ori's house. It was the most beautiful home she had ever been to. Ori was waiting for her in front of his door. He was so happy to see her. He took her in and served her a very delicious meal, pounded yam with vegetable soup and big goat meat. Mary thanked him for the hospitality and they started talking. Mary asked the obvious question. She asked how he got so much wealth at such a young age, and this question made Ori's countenance change. Mary was confused and apologized for asking, but Ori replied that it was not about her. It was just that the question reminded him of his sweet parents. Ori narrated how his wealthy parents died in a horrible motor accident and left the multi-million dollars in valuables to him. He also explained the weight of taking care of his parents' fortune, how it has been a little overwhelming. Mary couldn't believe her luck. In her entire Run's business, this was the biggest rich man she had ever met, and she couldn't wait to share this exciting news with her partner in crime, Mama Mary. Mary comforted Ori and said all the sweetest words she could think of to him. Ori thanked her for her kind words, and before a twinkle of an eye they started kissing. It was a very emotional one for Ori, and Mary was more than happy to kiss him back. They cuddled on the sofa afterwards. Ever since that day, Mary abandoned half of her rich sugar daddies. She wanted to really focus on Ori. Her mother also encouraged her to focus on him because they needed to get very close to him in order to get him to will all his parents' assets to Mary. Mary thought it was a good plan. In fact, get him to marry you. We can't look away from so much wealth, my daughter. These were Mama Mary's words to her daughter. Mary told her mother she doesn't love Ori, she just wanted his money, a piece of the fortune cake, but her mother insisted this had nothing to do with love. You can always divorce him or get rid of him after the marriage, Mama Mary says to her daughter. Mary pondered on this for days, and at the end she concluded it made sense and devised all methods and plans to make sure Ori fell in love with her. She would bring him food, buy him thoughtful items with her Run's funds, and shower him with so many cute text messages. She did everything within her power and experience to seduce Ori every second, minute and day. She pretended to be love-struck, and she played the character well because with each passing day Ori fell deeper in love with Mary. Mary took Ori to her mother, and Mama Mary received Ori with so much enthusiasm and happiness. She pampered Ori to the extent that Ori had to say how surprised he was with the fact that his mother-in-law-to-be was nothing like people say mother-in-laws are. Mama Mary told Ori that since she has no son and her daughter loves him, she sees Ori like her son. Ori was very grateful, and he shared a hug with Mama Mary before leaving that day. Mary placed lots of pressure on Ori to let her meet his family, and after her fourth attempt Ori finally took her to his father's younger brother's house. Mr. Appa was so delighted to see Ori, his late brother's son. Ori introduced Mary to Mr. Appa, and Mr. Appa was so happy Ori finally had a love interest. He embraced Mary and pleaded with her to take good care of Ori. When they left Mr. Appa's house, Mary asked Ori why they loved having funny names in his family, because in Yoruba language Appa means arm. Ori told Mary he also finds that funny, and they both laughed it off. 4 months later, Mary and Ori got married. It was a colorful wedding, and everything was going on according to the plan until it didn't. At the wedding reception, Ori suddenly asked for the microphone, claiming he wanted to say something nice to his wife in front of their well-wishers. Mary was smiling hard. In her mind she had Ori exactly where she wanted him, in her fake love web. Mama Mary was looking at her daughter with so much pride and admiration for bagging such a jewel. Ori was given the microphone, and in his well-tailored suit, he stepped on the stage. He thanked everyone for coming and for celebrating this wonderful day with them. But I have to thank someone specially, Ori said, and Mary thought for sure he was referring to her. But to her surprise, Ori said, I want to thank you, Ayanalori, my good friend. Mary was confused. Not only because Ori thanked another person, but because of the person's name. Ayanalori means someone who borrows people's head in Yoruba language. Ayanalori, my sweet friend, thank you so much, because without you I couldn't have done this, I couldn't have bagged such a beautiful woman. Mary was totally confused. She tried dissecting this when he saw Ori twisting his head. Mary, her mother, and a few of their friends were shocked, but the remaining guests were laughing, cheering and clapping for Ori as he kept twisting his neck and turning his head. "It is time for me to return your property back to you, Ayanalori. Please come forward," Ori said aloud. Mary was still not sure about what was happening. A young man stepped out of the crowd and kept smiling as he walked towards Ori. Then the craziest thing happened. Ori finally gave his head a hard twist and it came off. Mary couldn't believe her eyes. She watched in fear as Ori lifted the head and handed it over to the young man before her. "Thank you, Ayanalori. The hair on your head and the haircut is top-notch," Ori said. Mary began to pee on herself. She screamed for her mother. Everyone except for Mama Mary and her few friends laughed at her mockingly. Ori walked over to his wife Headless and hugged her tight. Immediately before Mary, a monstrous head suddenly sprung out of Ori's headless neck. The monster looked nothing like the Ori that Mary knew. Ori kissed Mary and Mary started to vomit. "Oh, my wife, we are just getting started. You all should say hello to my wife, please," Ori added, referring to the guests, and another wild thing happened. The guests, the DJ, the servers, ushers, and even Mr. Appa, Ori's father's brother, all turned to beasts. Mama Mary and her friends all fainted at the sight of the horror going on. And one by one the beasts came to greet Mary. Mary was numb out of her mind as they kept kissing her one by one. "I am finished. I am finished." Mary kept screaming. "My wife, you are not finished until I say so," Ori added. "Oh my God! What have I done to deserve this?" Mary wept. "Mary, now you are calling God?" Ori laughed. "Let me tell you a secret. God created creatures like me to teach people like you a lesson. We have been watching you, Mary. We watched you taking advantage of men, destroying families, committing immoral acts just because of money. It is time for you to harvest your crops." Ori yelled at the sweating Mary. "Do you remember when you asked why my parents named me Ori?" Ori asked. Mary nodded yes very fast. "Good. I didn't tell you the entire truth. My full name is Kalori," Ori revealed. In Yoruba land, Kalori means someone who has no head. "I was sure you wouldn't like my beastly head, so I decided to borrow a beautiful head with beautiful hair cut from my good friend, Ayanalori, and I am happy you liked it," Ori revealed. "Somebody help me! Help me!" Mary kept screaming. "Sorry to disappoint you for the 100th time today, Mary, because no one can hear your screams. This is not really a building." Ori and her beast friends laughed at Mary, and immediately the wedding reception hall turned into a thick, dirty forest. Mary wept like a baby. She knew she was finished, and indeed she was in serious trouble. "I have one more surprise for you," Ori said to Mary before calling out Mr. Appa. "My darling wife Mary, you were such a fool. The whole thing was playing before you, but your greediness blinded you. Do you remember when you asked me why he was named Appa?" Ori asked. Mary kept crying bitterly. "Answer me!" Ori yelled angrily. "Yes. I remember, Mr. Appa, your father's brother," Mary cried. "Good girl, his full name is Kalapa," Ori replied. Kalapa means someone who has no arm in Yoruba language. Mr. Appa licked Mary's arms. "That is true, Mary. I had to borrow the arms you saw me wearing, but I am happy your arms are looking very inviting. I won't have to borrow anymore," Mr. Appa mockingly said. Ori nodded in agreement. "My family, let us all come together and pick any body part we need. As you all can see, there is plenty for everyone," Ori announced, encouraging his beast family to pick their choices from Mary, her mother, and her mother's friends. Like the speed of light, they surrounded their new guests, with each beast picking what they were interested in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.